Hi, welcome to my video on the horizontal reflection, horizontal stretch on sine theta, the graph of sine theta. The horizontal stretch is denoted by HS, horizontal stretch, and the equation is y equals sine b theta. So if you have in relation to b sine theta, then the horizontal stretch is 1 over b. The equation, let's take these four equations. Let's find b and then find a 1 over b, the horizontal stretch. So if b is 2, then the horizontal stretch is 1 over 2. If b is 1/3, then the horizontal stretch is 1 divided by 1/3, which is 1 times 3 over 1, which is 3. And here, b is, I wrote down b. b is 1/3. And here b is 4, so the horizontal stretch is 1/4. And b is 1/6, so b is 1 divided by 1/6, which is 1 times 6 over 1, which is 6. So the horizontal stretch is a half. Horizontal stretch is 3. That's 3 times longer. This is only half as long. This is a quarter as long, and this is 6 times longer. The period of the sine curve in degrees, this is the basic sine curve, the period is 360. In radians is 2 pi. And the reason I want to show you that, because I put this in brackets to show you that there's a 1 right here. So in terms of the 1, it's 1 times 360, or 360 divided by 1, or 2 pi divided, because b is 1. So if b is 1, then 1 over b becomes 1 over 1, which is 1. So this is a 1 times 2 pi. The period of any sine curve, the period is always 360 divided by b, or it could be in terms of radians, 2 pi divided by b. So the period of any sine curve is always in degrees, 360 divided by the value of b. And b is this value that's here in the equation. So for each of the above, let's go and find the period of this graph. You had to graph it. So b is 2. So in degrees is 360 divided by 2. So the period is 180. And in radians is 2 pi divided by b is 2, which is pi. So in degrees is 180. In terms of radian is pi. And in number 2, b is 1/3. So the period is 360 divided by 1/3. So that's 360 times 3 over 1. So that's 1080. Or in radians is 2 pi divided by 1/3. So that's 2 pi times 3, and that's 6 pi. And b is 4. So in degrees, it's 360 divided by 4. So the period is 90. In terms of radian, it's 2 pi divided by b, which is 4. So cancel. 2 and the 2 goes once. 2 and the 4 goes 2. So the period 90 is pi over 2. And b right here is 1/6. So 360 degrees divided by 1/6 is 360 times 6, and 0, 6, and 2160. 6 times 0, 0, 3, 6, 6 is 36, and that's 2,160. Or it's 2 pi divided by 1/6, which is 2 pi times 6, so it's just 12 pi. Okay, notice this is 2. The way I look at y equals sine 2 theta, I always say there's 2 of them inside here. There's only 1/3 here. There's 4 of them. Between 0 and 360, there's 4 cycles. And between 0 and 360 is only 1/6, so it's 6 times longer. Let's continue. The mapping rule for the horizontal stretch on the sine theta, let's say sine theta, the mapping rule, theta comma y is the horizontal stretch times theta comma y. In other words, theta comma y map to the horizontal stretch is the 1/b times theta y. So let's do the mapping rule for this equation. B is 1/2. So the horizontal stretch is 1/1/2, which is 1 times 2. So the horizontal stretch is 2. So the mapping rule is theta comma y 2, and the horizontal stretch is theta, so that's 1/b, so that's 2 theta comma y, because the horizontal stretch is affecting the x value, or in this case the value of theta. And here b is 3. Better make it 3 now. I'm going to write something else there, not 3. B is 3, so the horizontal stretch is 1/3. So the mapping rule is theta comma y, and it's 1/3 theta comma y. And the horizontal stretch is affecting theta. In other words, it's, instead of an x, we have theta because we're talking about the degrees. And b is 1/8. So the horizontal stretch is 1 divided by 1/8, and that's 1 times 8. The horizontal stretch is 8. So we have theta comma y map to, we have 8 theta comma y. And again, b is 5. The horizontal stretch is the reciprocal, which is 1/5. So the mapping rule is theta comma y, and this is 5 theta comma y. So whatever this is, again, you're dealing with think about theta, this is y and this is x, we're dealing with the reciprocal. Reciprocal, half is a 2, a 3 is a 1/3, so it's 1/3. We're dealing with 1/8, so it's 8 times. Dealing with 5, so it's, I got a 5 here, that's 1/5, because the horizontal stretch is the reciprocal. 1/5, I had a 5 there. Now we want to talk about also the idea of a frequency of a sine curve. The frequency is the number of cycles from 0 degrees to 360 degrees, or from 0 radians to 2 pi. So if I quickly draw a graph, and I say that's 360, and I go like this, if I go up here, down like that, then the frequency of the sine curve, so the frequency is, I just put the frequency is 1, so there's 1 cycle. But if I draw it like this and put a 360 here and make that a 180, now if I go up here, down, so that's between 0 and 180, so that's the period of this cycle. Here, one sideways s is 360, so that's the period. Here, the period, one sideways s, there's the s, one cycle is 180. Now there's another one here, and there it is. So that means I have 2 of them. So the frequency of this one, again, frequency is 2, because there's 2 cycles from 0 to 360. So the frequency is the B. Frequency is the B. in this equation. So the frequency is the number in front of theta, and the period is the period is 360 divided by the frequency, or divided by b. So the frequency is the b value in the equation. State the frequency of each above. The frequency is the b. So the b is a half. Why? Because there's only half a cycle between 0 and 360, and there's going to be stretched right out. And b, the frequency, is 3. So look at it, there's half of one between 0 and 360. There's 3 of them between 0 and 360. C is 1/8. There's 1/8 of them between 0 and 360. And D, there's 5 of them. So the frequency is 5. 5 cycles between 0 and 360. Okay, let's continue. Hopefully to help you understand, so you won't get mixed up. Graph each using the mapping rule. So you have the equation y equals sine 3 theta. So remember that the mapping rule is theta comma y to 1 over b theta y. So b in this equation, the b is 3. So 1 over b is 1 over 3. So the mapping rule is theta and y. So it's 1 over 3 theta comma y. So whatever this is, the mapping rule is 1/3. So on the normal theta y sine, 0, 90, 180, 270, 360. Sine is, again, you have it memorized. Sine is the y at 0, so 0, go up to 1, go back to 0, go down to -1, go to 0. And so theta is mapped to 1/3, and this is the sine of 3 theta. So 1/3 of 0 is 0, 1/3 of 90 is 30, 1/3 of 180 is 60, 1/3 of 270 is, I'm going to put a 90, and 1/3 of 360 is 120. Now, 3 theta, so you put 0 in here. 3 times 0 is 0, the sine of 0 is still 0. If you put 30 in here, 3 times 30 is 90, the sine of 90 is 1. You put 60 in here, 3 times 60 is 180, the sine of 180 is 0. 3 times 90, put a 90 in, you get 270, the sine of 270 is -1. And you put 120 in, 3 times 120 is 360, the sine of 360 degrees is 0. So the frequency is the number b. The frequency is the b, so the frequency is b is 3. So the period is in degrees is 360 divided by b, so the period is 360 divided by 3, so the period is 120. So you can see from 0 going up, you're going up in increments of 30, add on 30, add on 30, add on 30. From 0 to 120 is the period, and notice that's 1/3 of what it was, so that means there's 3 in there. So if I graph this, 0 is 0, and 30, so that's a 90. So 90 is divided into 3 pieces, so that's a 30, that's a 60, and that's a 120, so 180, 150, sorry, 180. Add on 30 is 210, add on 30 is 240, 270, add on 30 is 300, add on 30 is 330. So this is 30s all the way through, marked out. So 0 gives me a 0, 30 gives me a 1, 60 gives me a 0, 90 gives me a -1, 120 gives me a 0. So notice from 0 to 120, there's one sideways S, one cycle. So if you continue on, then you go, notice you go up, down to the middle, down to -1, and you have another cycle. And then we leave here and we're going up, so we go up to 1, we go back to 0, we go down to -1, and we go back to 0, so we have another one. So between 0 and 360, there's 3 of them. So if there's 3 of them, there must be 120 for each one of these, making the frequency, there's 3 cycles between 0 and 360. Okay, let's look at another one. Y equals sine 1/2 theta. The B is 1/2. That means 1 divided by 1/2 is 1 times 2, 2. So the mapping rule, notice B is 1/2, so theta, comma y, so that's 1/2. So this is 2 theta, because it's the reciprocal, y. And the normal sine, again, 0, 90, 180, 270, 360. Sine is 0, 1, 0, -1, 0. I have it memorized. Hopefully you do. Remember, that's the y value as you rotate on the unit circle. Now we have a 2 theta, and y is sine theta. Y is, a half. Y is half sine theta. Let's put y in there as a half. Half sine theta. So we put a 0 in. 2 times 0 is 0. 2 times 90 is 180. 2 times 180 is 360. 2 times 270 is 740. 2 times 160, or sorry, 540, did I say 740? 540. 2 times 360 is 720. Now we're putting in theta. So theta is a 0. So when you put 0 in here, half is 0, 0. The sign of 0 is still 0. Now we put a 180 in. Half of 180 is 90. The sign of 90 is 1. We put 360 in. Half of 360 is 180. The sign of 180 is 0. And we put 270 in. Half of, we put 540 in. I gotta look at this one. Put 540 in here. I get 270. I get a -1. Put 720 in here. 720. Half is 360, and the sign of 360 is a 0. So the frequency is the B, which is a half, and the period is 360 divided by a half, so that's 360 times 2, so the period is 720. And again, the frequency, there's only a half of 1 between 0 and 360. So let's plot this. A 0 gives me a 0. So this is 360, so this is 180. And then this is halfway between, so that's 540. If you add them up and take a half, you get 540. So 180 gives you a 1. 160 is back to 0. And 540 is down to -1, and 720 is back to 0. So notice 1, there's only one S, one sideways S. Notice it's stretched out. Oh, make that. Notice one S. So there's only, this is the full period, which is from 0 to 720. So from 0 to 360, there's only a half a cycle. Half. Because the full one is 720. Again, the frequency, there's 1/2 a cycle between 0 and 360, but the period is double that, 720. So that's explaining about what we call the horizontal stretch. So again, you're getting a reciprocal off the B, so 1/3 goes in your mapping rule. 1/3 times. This is a half, so it's doubling. So that brings us to the end. If you like my video, click the like button. If you're not a subscriber, click the subscribe button. Visit my math website, www.mathfullyexplained.com, to find more information about me, my videos, and the content. That's the content on my YouTube channel called Math Fully Explained. Thank you for viewing my video. Hope the video was of some help to you. Bye-bye.